Hello and welcome to Empowered Podcast. We're now on episode number 9. Can you believe it?
No, 9. I love it. It's a great number too.
I'm Michael Abney
and I'm Marilyn Egan.
Awesome. Today we are continuing our sort of theme on spaces. We talked earlier this month about creating your morning practice and creating a special meditation space. And then our last episode, we talked about creating your home as a sacred space, a place where, as Oprah says, rises up to meet you. And some great takeaways from that one. That was amazing. And now, since this time of the year, we kind of looked at the space around the holidays and what comes up for people as we start to look at planning the Thanksgiving and the Christmases with the friends and family. And sometimes could be a really depressing time of the year for people, and maybe have lost that sense of celebrating or what the holidays they thought they were about. And today we're going to be talking about we have a guest that's here today, Cheryl Fox. You can introduce Cheryl. And
yes.
You guys, how long have you known each other?
About a year, isn't it? I think
Yes.
It's about a year ago that I met Cheryl. And I was impressed by her wisdom and her creativity and how she's managed some loss in her life that happened not long before the holidays last year. So I thought she would be a great person to help us figure out how to, reinvent the holidays when we bring people together that have been through, nobody really understands what they've been through that year and how things have changed if we only get together once a year.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I know several people in my life that have had close deaths,
yeah,
right before the holidays, and that's the very first thought is, oh, their holidays are ruined forever. Like that,
right.
You hear that. And I'm just really interested when we dive into the conversation today
Yes.
about how that doesn't have to maybe be that way.
Exactly. So Cheryl Fox is our guest today, and we just want to talk about how to incorporate these changes and shifts into the holidays so that it can feel good for you and your family as you connect. So.
Yeah, one thing that comes to mind for me was, you're right. The first anniversary after you have a loss or a grief or a death is, it almost seems unbearable to think about having to get together for Thanksgiving or for Christmas. The whole thought of it, it's like, how are you going to get through it? And for me, I just got intentional and I thought about it and I thought, well, what would work? What would work for me? And everybody has their opinion and everybody can offer their advice, and I just took a step back and thought, I have to do what works for me. And so if I can, if that would help somebody else to just think about what works for them. And for us, I talked with my son and we decided to keep some things the same, but then we changed some things up because.
Can you share what was your experience in your life that happened to you, right before the holidays?
Oh, okay. Well, several things happened within about an 18-month period. I lost my husband to cancer, and I lost my mother to cancer, and I lost one of my best friends to cancer, and my son moved out of the house and went away to college, which was also a big loss for me.
Well, it is. I mean, there's all different ways of experiencing loss, and so there can't be a family event show up without someone experiencing some kind of loss.
That's right.
That was a lot, my dear, I must say.
Yeah.
Which is, yes, it was. So, the thought of, making all my favorite meals and doing a formal sit down, we always came to my house, and the thought of doing that I just couldn't imagine it. So we went to Boston, and where my husband's family was, and we did something a little different. But we were still together with family, and it was still really hard. But we did it, and so it was also healing for them, for us to be there. And
I think that's great that then it worked for both of you. What you felt right in your heart felt good to them too, which is a bonus.
Right.
A bonus for the holidays. So,
Right. Yeah.
So what did you do that you kept the same throughout the holidays?
Well, so for Christmas, we would again always get together at our house. And the thought of doing it all was just too hard. But I still got the decorations out. I still hung his stocking up. I still put his ornaments up on the tree. And I still had people come over to the house. But instead of doing his favorite meals and having it all the same, I changed it up a little bit. I kept it lighter, and I did paper plates, and I did salads and sandwiches, and then we went out and saw the Star Wars movie afterwards. And it was different, but we were all still together. And afterwards, my nephew even said, he goes, God, this was so much fun. Let's do this again next year. And we all smiled and said, okay. So, because it's not the same. You know,
Right.
Things have changed. So we're starting some new traditions, but incorporating and including the lost people in our lives.
Yes. So you wove it together. You
Well,
wove it together.
literally wove it together. For Christmas, I actually had a memory quilt made for my son out of my husband's shirts because I wanted to include him when we opened up gifts. You know, both it was him and I were like, how are we going to do this? I'm like, I don't know. It's going to be really hard, but we're going to have to do it. So I had this beautiful memory quilt made, and I gave that to him, and so that kind of included my husband in it, even though he wasn't still there. So, you know, you just have to think about what you can do to include him, but also move on and make some changes.
Yes, I think
How long of a space was it before, from your husband passing to having to face the holidays? Or those, start those 1 year anniversaries that kind of tick around?
Yes.
Like, what was that is somebody's going through this right now, or listening to this and they relate, and they can't get to, let's do the movies this year, or like, can you help somebody through that space?
Well, it was about 4 to 5 months for me from the time he died until the first holidays hit. And there's an awful lot of anxiety for the whole first year, the first anniversary of his death, or Father's Day, or Mother's Day, or the birthdays, or the wedding anniversary. You have all this anxiety. And one thing that helped me was I just said, it's just going to be another day. Or maybe it's only going to be 4 hours and 2 of it's going to be at the movies. And then I can come home and do whatever I want. If I want to go in my room and cry, or if I'm good, because you don't really know how you're going to feel until that day. And there were some times where I just had all this anxiety building up to it, but then when the day came, I was okay. So you're going to have grief. But you don't know if you're going to have grief that day or not because it comes and goes. So you don't really know how you're going to feel. So I just tried to break it down to hours or to a day and say it's just going to be another day.
Yeah, you took it to like little bite-sized pieces that you knew you could handle, right?
Yeah, and that helped me. And my son was in town this weekend, and we were actually talking about how we were such a mess this time last year. And we both cried a little bit, but then we also smiled and laughed. So, you know, you are resilient, and a year makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And another thing we were thinking of is then when you have these holidays and you know that you feel like a mess, so what do you feel like you needed from the other family members that you were going to be with so they could accept you being a mess? Does that make sense?
I only wanted to be around the people that I knew I could be a mess and that I could be okay with. So I made it very clear. I mean, I kept the gathering smaller, and I only surrounded myself around the people that I knew I would be really safe with.
Perfect.
And you can't always do that because, like you say, there's always Aunt Sally or somebody, or that, and sometimes you're supposed to do this for holidays, and you're supposed to go here, and you're supposed to, this is what you're supposed to do. I gave myself a pass and said, I'm going to do whatever works for me.
Very good. Very good.
And if people don't like it, it's, this is what's going to be best for me and my son this year. And this is what we're going to do. And
That's what you did.
And that's what we did.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, and that works. Now, what about someone who does end up being around people who don't necessarily understand where they are and feel challenged by them? Do you have advice to offer people who are going to be hosting family in, and we never know what kind of losses they might be experiencing? Maybe to lighten up on the ritual and the expectation. What would you say to people who are having family in and they don't really know what's been going on in everybody else's lives?
Well, I think it's important that if it's family, they should know what's going on in everybody's life. Hopefully that you have that opportunity to express how you feel and just be real and authentic. And, I cried a lot.
Yes.
It's like I couldn't stop crying, and sometimes it made other people like really uncomfortable. And I said, well, I can't help it, and then the tears just finally stopped. But I think just being real and authentic and, letting them know how you feel. One thing that we did was to tell stories, We told story.
Right.
Let's all go around and tell our favorite story about Richard. And so that was hard, but it was also healing, and it was also really good. And everybody got to say something, and so everybody was included.
Yes, I love that too. My father passed December 9th one year, and there was my mom. They'd been married 57 years, and we're like, wow, what are we going to do for Mom for the holidays? So what we actually did is, part of my family lives in one town, and we live here. So she spent Thanksgiving with them. We went and got her, and she stayed with us for Christmas, and we let her sit and tell us stories from all of the days that we had never heard about.
Right, isn't that funny?
Yes,
that it comes to them, that's when you hear these stories that you've never heard before.
Like when she dated my dad and their first date, and what she thought when he came to the door to pick her up.
And don't you want to just write it all down?
Yes, yes, and it was just really beautiful, and my kids were really fascinated by these stories that she had to share, but it was a totally different situation for us to have her stay with us that week, and just we really just kind of focused on her. We let it be. We let her be who she wanted to be and experience it the way she wanted to.
And that's what my family did for me.
Yeah,
my family was amazing. They just said, okay, whatever you want to do, and they were just there for me. Now that may or may not always be the case, but that's what you did,
Yes.
Well, maybe a family's listening to this and they don't know how to react, but you just gave them permission to have an entirely different conversation.
Yeah, and a lot of times people don't know how to react. When you lose somebody, everybody says, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and it's just like you just nod and say, "Thank you."
Okay, this is so important. I want to know this. Like,
Yes.
What did you want to hear? Because people don't know what to say, and we all are kind of sick and tired of thoughts and prayers right now. But
that's a great question, because people would ask me that before. What do you really want to hear? And sometimes I just wanted to talk, and I just wanted people to listen.
Perfect.
And
that's really powerful.
And I have since so many people were there for me. So when I run into somebody now, I ran into somebody just doing business the other day. I ran in to pick up some business shirts or something, and this woman was very out of sorts. And so I said, are you okay? I said, take your time. Everything's fine. Well, it turns out that she had just lost somebody in her family, and she was trying to get her daughter together, and she was just. And I just sat down and I just listened to her for like 45 minutes. And that's just what she needed. She just needed to talk.
You held space for her to heal.
Well, that's what people did for me.
Yes.
Strangers, friends, loved ones. I journal and I wrote down things that I was so touched by what other people did. So,
do you remember any of them? offhand?
God, there were so many. One day I was at Trader Joe's, and when I found out my husband had cancer, and I went and bought all this food. I cook a lot, and I cook from scratch, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to do that, so I bought a lot of these prepared foods, and my cart was full, and so we're checking out, and he's like, gosh, you got a lot of food, and I said, yeah, I know, my husband has cancer, and I'm just not going to have time to make a lot of meals right now. And the guy who was bagging, he left, and he came back with some flowers. And of course, I started crying.
Yay!
And but it just touched me. And it turns out I couldn't stop crying, so he helped walk me out to the car. And he goes, "Yeah, I lost my uncle." And then he told his story. And there was things like that. There was a time when we were getting blood work done, and my husband was getting his blood work done, I was getting mine done. And we were at one of those blood bank places where they take your blood, and we had to wait for 45 minutes. And so finally I got in there for my turn, and right when it was my turn, the oncologist called with very important information about my husband. And she goes, "Well, I'm sorry, you can't take that call." And I said, I really need to take this call. "Well, we can't wait." And I said, "Okay, fine. I'll go back out and get back in line."
No.
And, I can't remember if she actually, no, or maybe I didn't take the call, but we finally got in there, and then I told her what was going on, and then she just got up and she closed the door and she just listened. And she had all these people in line, and they were all waiting, and she was supposed to take my blood and move me along, but she sat there and listened to my story for like 30 or 35 minutes, and she shared one of her stories. So it was just things like that, and the kindness of strangers that touch you. That gets you through the days.
Isn't that interesting? Because she almost got caught up in the rules and regulations and the limits of time, and then she caught herself, and she allowed herself to be there for you.
Yeah, I said, "I'm sorry, it was the oncologist. My husband's out there, and he's, terminal, and, And
Wow. Yes.
Yeah. So then I stopped and went down the street to the Panera and got her some cupcakes and brought them back to her and said, "Thank you."
I love that. I love that. So I guess what I'm thinking is these people who are having friends in or family in for the holidays, I think what you're saying is just be open to whatever is. They may have experienced a loss that we don't know, whether it's financial or whether it's maybe a divorce or a separation, or that they're not coming forth with yet. And if we can just remain open throughout the holiday, let go of the expectations and the judgments and the rules and regulations, we think.
It's that, and it's also like everything that's happening in the world.
Yes.
Like our families, everything is split. That separation showing up everywhere. So not getting along with somebody, or family members we don't have the best relationships with.
Right.
Like I just keep hearing this recurring thing that we're talking about, the thing that is connecting everything.
Right.
Every time that we talk about this is a story. We're sharing stories, and that's connecting, because you connected with the lady that was drawing the blood, and then you went and got her the cupcakes, and she listened to you. And by the way, being listened to, being heard, being gotten is one of the most important things in the world. And I know that, but I never connected it to somebody going through a loss or a conflict or something, a disturbance in the norm, that was missing. So I got something really big out of that. So thank you for that.
Well, when people are stressed anyway for the holidays, whether it be a change in a job or anything that may be going on, and like with my situation, we literally lived day by day. So I'd always read the books on being mindful and being present, but it's another thing to know that he could die any day. So we literally lived day by day. So when you're there at the holidays, and you want to acknowledge their stress or whatever, but you also want to celebrate and look at the big picture and what's really, really important. You know, what's really important. One of the last things my husband said before he passed was, hold on to our love. Hold on to the love. And that has helped sustain me through a lot. But that's what's really important. And whether it's a job loss or a divorce or you know, a death or whatever, we still all have the love. We have their love and we have our love.
That's
So-
brilliant.
That is beautiful. And if we could all remember that with every single person who walks into our holiday celebration, that can change the energy of everything.
Imagine everybody walking in
Yes.
and like, instead of like numbing ourselves out,
Right.
sitting down and start swapping some stories
Yes.
and like connecting.
Yeah.
Because every time we share ourselves with people, we connect. And when we connect, the illusion of separation disappears. Therefore, there's no conflict and there's just harmony and unity.
It melts away. You can just feel it. It'll
Yes.
just melt.
Yep.
I feel it when you're talking.
I do too.
And like at the beginning of this podcast, I swear I did not know where this was going.
Right.
But I'm really happy that this is really powerful and so simple. We all can tell a story. I mean, we're natural born storytellers. And I can think right now, like some stories that, you know, my mom wrote a little, she gave me a book and they were all little questions about when I was a little girl, or she was sharing stuff that from these questions in this book, but it was all sharing stories. And I could barely get through a couple of pages before I started like breaking down. So it's just that's so present for me right now is like our stories and sharing them with other people and
allowing them to open up with their story, even if they're afraid.
And it honors that person, too.
It honors, yes.
You know, or if you're telling a story about somebody who has passed away, you're honoring that person and keeping them and their spirit alive with you, too.
Right.
And then anything that you did after that, whether that was just sharing a meal or that was, you know, going to the mall afterwards or walking
The
around
movie.
in the park or whatever, the connection.
The
that's
connection was
that's the missing part.
Yeah, the
That's
connection
the
was
missing part.
the connection was great because we were all stressed. We were all like, "How are we going to get through this?" You know, there was all this little nervous tension in the beginning.
Right. For those in your family or those you were sharing the holiday with and you, because they didn't know exactly how you feel because they've never been exactly in your shoes. And that's probably another thing for us to all remember is we never really know exactly how a person is feeling.
Until
But
they
if we
share it
can
with you.
hold the door open, and let them know we're willing to share that
That literally just shifted
and just
everything
hold
for me.
space
Wow.
makes all the difference.
Of course, Star Wars helped too. I mean,
Star Wars, of course.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Is there one coming out this Christmas too? There's another one.
I have no idea. Do you?
I don't know.
There's
That or
always
Star
great
Trek.
holiday movies.
There will be a movie. Absolutely, there will be a movie.
I think Hallmark's got like tons of Christmas movies.
Yeah.
too. Well, I just like this is like I feel good.
I do too. I
Yeah.
do too. And maybe this can set the tone for everyone who's not so sure how their holidays are going to feel for them. You know, maybe this can set a tone for you and leave you going to your holiday a little more open
Or
to
even
what
better
everyone
yet,
else is going.
Pick up the phone or send an email
Yes.
or text somebody that is in your family that, I mean, their face pops up the first time you think about going to an event.
Right.
It's right there. So if somebody's got somebody like that in their life, an email to connect, hey, let's have some coffee. Let's talk on the phone. Let's Skype. Let's FaceTime. And I want to hear your story. I want to create something different than was in the past. Like it doesn't
Yes.
have to be like that. Who wouldn't want to get that call?
Well, and it's not going to be what it was in the past because things have changed.
Right.
But most people operate like it has to everything be the same. And that's the paradigm that we're shifting
Right.
out of, and that we don't have to be stuck with it. And if it's not that, then it doesn't have to suck the rest of our life. You know, like you're the perfect example of that didn't happen to you because you chose different actions. You chose different actions, and you got a different result. Can
Yes.
you? I mean, there's people that have devastation that happen and they never recover from it, and they, for whatever reason, chose another path that gave them that action. But you're a perfect example of that doesn't have to be that way because you chose something different.
Well, it's a process. It's a work in progress. It doesn't just happen. It
Right.
continues. So
Yes.
yes, and it's different for everybody. So
Yeah.
Is it still in the theme though of one minute at a time, one day at a time?
I continue to live my life like that. Yes, I do, and it's great.
Yeah, it's about being in the present. So you're in the present.
hmm
You're in today.
Sometimes I slip back and start worrying about this petty stuff, and I'm thinking, oh, really?
Yeah.
And you catch yourself?
Oh yeah.
That's transformation.
Yes. Yeah. Because you're human too. So, but catching yourself with that is huge. Is huge. Because that's not how you wanted to feel.
So,
And you moved into a space of how you want to feel.
what's your holidays going to be like this year?
We are actually going back to Boston for Thanksgiving. My son has a girlfriend and is bringing her with him. So that's, so we've started a new tradition. And I'm not sure what we're going to do yet for Christmas. I have some ideas of how I'm going to include my husband in it. He was an artist and a cartoonist and a poet and a musician. And he was also very disorganized and very messy. So I've spent the last year cleaning up the house, but I've got all these little tidbits of sketches and cartoons and poems that I've been picking up all over the house and putting them in a file. So I'm going to give those to my son for Christmas, just as something that I can still include him and he can still be there in some capacity. But I'm not sure how the rest is going to play out. But we're in a better place, and we'll do whatever we want to do.
Do you still feel him around you?
Oh, yes.
I felt it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Well, Marilyn, what are you taking away from today?
I think the biggest thing, well, you mentioned the stories, which is huge because that's what we ended up doing. But the idea of that is you didn't plan the stories. You didn't plan. What you did was you opened the space up for whatever that person needed and whatever you needed.
And however I was going to feel that day.
And yes, in that moment. And I think that's the big thing to remember is just to be open-hearted to everyone and let it be what it needs to be with the open mind and open heart.
So if you got somebody going through that, listen, ask them what they need.
Yes.
I know a lot of times everybody does ask you what you need, but they always think of it as a physical thing. But you were there, somebody was there for you in spirit, and like a person was listening to you, a soul was listening to you. So you were allowed to be heard. That's different than, bringing over food or something like that.
Or
That's
saying,
important
let's do
as well.
this. I think we should do this, or I think we should do that. Everybody has their opinion.
Yes. Yeah.
But you went to the heart of it, literally. And I just felt I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing that. You're sharing your story. And I hope listening to this today that if you're going through this or know someone's going through this, that this provides something new, a new possibility, a new way to connect. And if you're listening and dreading the holidays with your family, pick up the phone. Get a conversation started. Start sharing and start connecting. We're not separate. We are the same. And the world needs the connection, needs the love right now, especially going through this. So thank you so much for being here today and sharing that with everybody, sharing that with us and our listeners. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you, Cheryl. I do think that your story is going to speak to a lot of people and open up their eyes.
We all have our own story.
Everybody has a story. You are right.
Share it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody have a really great holiday. Bye-bye.